welcome back to my channel. My name is Maggie. Today I have my rotating Pan Those Palettes updates. So this is the first update since I've rolled in these palettes, and I'm excited to share with you. I do have one new pan, so we'll be able to fill in my chart and everything like that. But yeah, I'm really pleased with these palettes. I've gotten to know them a little bit better, and yeah, let's just go ahead and dive in and talk through what I've been using, how I've been using the shades, and what my goals are for next kind of month before we do another update. So the two pre-made palettes I have are the Natasha Denona Glam palette. I reorganized mine into a different kind of, order, but it's still all the same original shadows. So these don't really have a name. I just number them like 1 through 15. But this one I really enjoy. So I've used this. I got this last year around Christmas time. I think it was the birthday gift to myself. So I've been using this a lot. Some of my favorite shades in here, this one, obviously there's a big dip. I find that the shimmer shades apply best from my finger than a brush. Even if I wet the brush, I just feel like my finger works the best. So that's kind of why we're seeing like big wide dips, because it's my finger going in there instead of like a little brush. So I really like that one. I also really enjoyed this matte shade here, kind of the warmer matte in the palette. But yeah, they're all pretty. So I've used this a handful of times. I think I will probably put more emphasis into this palette in November, December, but I've really been focusing since October on the Canyon palette. This is the Alter Ego Canyon palette. It's supposed to be a dupe for the Natasha Denona bronze palette. I really enjoy it. It's obviously very, very warm. So I've been using Rattlesnake down here quite a bit as a transition shade. And I also really enjoy Cougar. I enjoy Coyote and Plateau up here. This one has like kind of a purpley pink shift to it, which is pretty. So I don't have any pans in here, but I have been really putting a lot of emphasis into this palette and exploring it, because it is also a newer palette in my stash and I haven't, used it as much. So in October, when, we had Halloween and kind of all of the orangey vibes, I was really, really kind of coming in here. The shadows are very pigmented. A little bit goes a long way in here. So my usage in these two, I've used the Canyon palette more. I still have shades in here that I've not used yet. So I would like to make sure I use every shade in here at least one time. So some of the ones that I still need to use are Desert Sun. So this is a matte here. I need to use Expanse, this dark kind of black, but it's got a little bit of a shift or a shimmer to it, so I need to kind of play with that. What else? These three, Blaze, Russet, and Scorch up here, I also need to kind of play with. So those are more like coppery. The Blaze is a little bit more cranberry, so I think I can make like a really pretty maybe Thanksgiving look out of that. And then I also need to use Sear and Desert Moon as well. So otherwise, I have been playing in here. I've used some of these shades multiple times and I'm really enjoying it. I just need to make sure that I'm exploring all the shades, if that makes sense. So this is going to obviously stay in. All these palettes will be staying in for a couple of months, but I really want to make sure I use every shade at least once so I can be familiar with it, because this palette particularly, the way things look in the pan, they look different on my eyes and on my, even if I swatch it on my hands. So that's something I'm learning to kind of, don't judge the the shade, how it looks on the palette, because it definitely looks different on my complexion and with my eye color and my fair skin and all of that. So that's something I want to work on. Glam palette, I also would like to make sure I use every shade at least once. Again, I haven't been focusing on this one as much, so I do think I can do that. I just kind of have been reaching here for one-off shades, but this is definitely a favorite palette for me for the winter time. So I know that I've used every shade in here in the past, so I just want to make sure I go through again and use every shade at least once to refamiliarize myself and make sure I'm getting some usage out of it. Okay, and then we have the Z palette, which this is where most of my progress is right now. So we did some traveling and I did bring like these palettes, or like one of them or the other. But I really just kind of lived out of my Z palette the most. So this has the most progress in it. And I have used every shade at least twice looking at my notes. So that's pretty cool. So this is what my current Z palette looks like. These are all ColourPop shades that I pull out of different palettes. So first up here is Crystal Cove. This already had pan in it, but I am working to expand the pan. So I've used Crystal Cove 20 times, obviously expanding the pan. That's what I'm using to set down my eye primer. And then we have Top Down. So I did finally hit pan on Top Down. This was the transition shade I used all last kind of rotation, and I was super close to hitting pan, and I hit pan within, I want to say maybe like 10 uses. So I did finally hit pan and Top Down. I used it 12 times. Hot Gossip, I've used 5, so I've been really leaning towards this for a nice transition shade. The middle row here with shimmers, Idle Hour, I've used 17 times. This is the shade that I'm using for my inner corner highlight. So we can see a nice dip started. I don't know if I'll hit pan by the end of the year, but I will be, you know, focused in on that center of the dip and just kind of digging my way through. The Talk I've used, let's see here, 7 times. And this is a really nice all over the lid eyeshadow. I could see myself really focusing on this maybe next year and like really trying to hit pan, because it's just like a beautiful, just throw it over the lid and you're good, like just easy kind of swipe and go kind of shade. And it has just a little bit of a warmth to it with a golden shimmer. So it's just like very flattering and pretty for most, you know, clothing and colors that I wear, you know, on my outfit. Okay, then we have the shade at the end called Rumored. I use this 3 times. It's more of a taupe. I definitely lean into taupes and grays and things like that a lot more, like December, January. So I'll keep using it here, but I think December I'll really start to play with that one more. And then the bottom row, I have Pebbled Beach, also a nice transition shade. This one's a little bit cooler than the one up here, so it just kind of depends on my eye look. All For You is a nice kind of burgundy matte, like a light burgundy matte. And sometimes I just need to add a little bit of warmth. Like the eye look I did today, I started layering some grays from the Glam palette and it almost got a little bit too smoky. So I just put a little bit of this in to add a little bit of warmth to my eye look. And I'm really pleased with how this one kind of interacts with other shades. So that's been great to have in here. And then Spyglass is the black down here I've used twice. I have started to do a little bit of eyeliner again. I kind of stopped doing eyeliner during the summer. I just don't really prefer it. But now that it is getting to be winter, I have started to use that a little bit. So I do have a good start in here. I don't think I'll hit pan by the end of the year, even if I wore eyeliner every single day. These are deep. ColourPop pans are pretty deep. So I don't think that I would actually hit pan on that day this year, but I certainly will try. So that's the progress here. And again, this is kind of a standalone palette for me too. Like I don't have to reach into these palettes. And a lot of times what I'll do is I'll kind of build my base in here and then maybe I'll just reach into here for like a lid shade. So I definitely maybe need to kind of pull back from this palette a little bit to give these 2 pre-made palettes some more love. But I am happy with the new pan I saw in this palette. So we will mark that off in my planner here. Okay, so if you're new, I have in the back of my planner like a nice little drawing diagram of the different palettes I have. And I like to color in when I hit pan and when I finish up shades so I can see it kind of at a glance. It's very satisfying. So we have one new pan from my Z palette, and that actually comes from the Wild Nothing palette from ColourPop. So the shade I hit pan is called Top Down, which it looks like it belongs in the palette in this spot right here. So that's a spot I'll be referencing for my grid. I have like some good pan in here. Pretty proud of that. Okay, so in here, so this is the Wild Nothing palette. And I'm going to put in the hash lines in that top corner there. So this year, the color of the year for my palette is pink. So what I do is I do these hashed lines to show me that I've hit pan, and then when I finish a shade, I color it in all the way. And I pick a different color for each year. So this year is like pink, last year was green. I'll pick a new color for next year. Maybe it'll be like blue or something, but that is where we are at now. So super exciting to see another one kind of filled in. And yeah, that Wild Nothing palette has definitely been a favorite of mine, and it's getting a lot of love. So maybe this is something I would work to hit pan on every shade, or I don't know. Maybe I'm not committing to anything right now, but This has been a good one. The other thing I track in my planner is the shadows that I've either hit pan or finished this year. So top down was the 8th shadow that I either hit pan or finished. My goal at the beginning of the year was to hit pan or finish 13 eyeshadows. I don't think I'm going to hit that by the end of the year because I'm only at 8. I think I could maybe hit like 1 more pan, maybe 2. We'll see. But I'm obviously happy with any progress. It means that I'm using what I have. And I'm also happy that I'm rotating through. I know that if I've done pan the palette multiple times in the past where I know if you focus on one palette, eventually you just like work through everything. But because I am switching, you only have so much time to really get progress. So I'm okay with how I'm doing. I'm very pleased with how the year has gone. I also track my pan percentage in here. So I have 133 pans of eyeshadow between all my palettes, and I have a couple of singles. And I now have pan in 21 of those. So 21 divided by 133 is 15.78%. So I'm really, really happy with that. 15% is amazing. I'm just, really thrilled with that. So overall, great update for me. I will be updating again in December, and then I will probably do a finale in January. So we'll get kind of like now through the end of November, we'll do another update, and then I'll still use these palettes through December. And then in January, we'll kind of do a finale, and I will decide what the heck I'm going to do for eyeshadow panning next year. I'm not sure yet. I've really enjoyed, again, this approach of rotating because it helped kind of keep things fresh for me, but I also really like having in my makeup basket, like this is just what I'm using, and it helps with decision fatigue for me too. So I really like that aspect. So I don't know if I'll do the same thing or if I'll switch it up next year, but so far I'm pleased with what I've been able to accomplish. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you are doing well. Let me know how your eyeshadow panning endeavors are going. And I'm curious what people are thinking for next year. I know that there's been so many kind of evolutions of eyeshadow panning throughout the YouTube community, like with, starting with pan that palette and then pan those eyeshadows. And I know that a lot of people have been doing the level up, which I think is really, really fun. So let me know what you think you're going to do, or if you're just tired of panning eyeshadows, that would be interesting to hear about too. So let me know in the comment section. And yeah, that's it for me today. So thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in my next one. Bye.